August 14th, 1945. Japan surrendered. The war was over. People poured into the streets. New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, everywhere. Dancing, crying, kissing strangers. The photographs show smiling faces, relief, joy, victory. But those photographs do not show the children. The ones who spent years waiting for bombs that never came. The ones who hid in shelters, who learned to duck and cover, who watched their parents break, who grew up too fast and could not go back. The war ended, but for the children who lived through it, nothing ended. It just changed shape. Dorothy Edgers was 13 when the war ended. The same Dorothy who was thrown out of bed by the Pearl Harbor explosions, who watched the Arizona blow up, who spent 4 years flinching every time she heard a plane. When the surrender was announced, her mother cried. Her father opened a bottle of whiskey he had been saving since 1941. They celebrated. Dorothy sat in her room and stared at the wall. She did not feel relief. She felt nothing, just empty. Like something inside her had been hollowed out and never filled back in. School started again in September. Teachers told the students to move forward, to focus on the future, to be grateful. Dorothy tried. She sat in class, took notes, did her homework, but every time a plane flew overhead, her body went rigid. Her hands started shaking. Her heart raced. She would close her eyes and count to 10, wait for the sound to pass. The other kids noticed. They thought it was funny, called her jumpy, called her crazy. Dorothy stopped going to class, started staying home. Her parents did not understand. They said the war was over. There was nothing to be afraid of anymore. Dorothy did not know how to explain that the fear did not leave just because the bombs stopped falling. By 1947, Dorothy had dropped out of school entirely. She was 15 years old. She got a job at a grocery store, stocking shelves, sweeping floors. She did not talk to anyone, did not make friends, just worked, went home, slept, repeated. Her parents were worried, but they did not know what to do. Nobody did, because nobody talked about what the war did to kids. Nobody called it trauma. Nobody called it PTSD. They just called it weakness, and you were supposed to get over it. Dorothy never got over it. She spent the rest of her life looking over her shoulder, avoiding crowds, hating loud noises. She married at 23, had 2 kids, but she never told them about Pearl Harbor, never told them what she saw, what she felt. She buried it, pushed it down, pretended it never happened. Until one day in 1991, 50 years after the attack, her grandson asked her what December 7th was like. Dorothy stared at him. Then she walked out of the room, locked herself in the bathroom, and cried for an hour. Her daughter knocked on the door, asked if she was okay. Dorothy said yes, but she was lying. She was not okay. She had not been okay for 50 years, and she never would be. The war created an entire generation of children who learned to bury their pain, who were told to move on, to be strong, to forget. And most of them did, or at least they pretended to. But the pain did not disappear. It just went underground, festered, rotted, came out in other ways. Robert Kinzler, the boy who ran toward Hickam Field during the attack, grew up angry. Not loud angry, quiet angry. The kind that simmers under the surface and never goes away. His father survived Pearl Harbor, came home, but he was not the same. He drank, a lot. He yelled, he hit. Robert learned to stay out of his way, learned to disappear. By the time he was 16, Robert was gone, dropped out of school, left home, never looked back. He joined the military in 1950 when the Korean War started. He was 18. He thought maybe the military would fix him, give him structure, purpose, discipline. It did not. It just gave him more trauma, more things to bury, more nightmares to ignore. Robert served 2 tours, came home in 1953, got a job, got married, had kids, but he was never present, never fully there. His wife said it was like living with a ghost, someone who looked like a person but was hollow inside. Robert's kids grew up afraid of him, not because he hit them, he never did, but because he was cold, distant, unreachable. When his son was 10, he asked Robert what the war was like. Robert looked at him and said, "Do not ever ask me that again." His son never did. And Robert died in 1998 without ever telling anyone what he saw, what he felt, what he carried. His children found his military records after he died, found out he had been awarded medals, commendations. They had no idea. He never mentioned them, never hung them up, just buried them in a box in the garage and forgot about them. But not all the children buried their pain. Some of them fought back. Some of them refused to let the war define them. Some of them turned their trauma into something else, something useful. Kevin Donovan, the 10-year-old who held his family together after his brother died, grew up to become a social worker. He spent 40 years helping families in crisis, helping kids who lost parents, helping people who were broken and did not know how to put themselves back together. He was good at it, really good, because he understood what it felt like to be shattered, to have everything fall apart and still have to keep going. But Kevin never healed, not fully. He spent his life helping other people while ignoring his own pain. His wife knew. She saw it. The way he flinched when the phone rang at night, the way he could not sleep, the way he woke up gasping for air from nightmares he would not talk about. She asked him to see a therapist. He refused, said he was fine, said he did not need help. But he was lying, and she knew it. In 1989, Kevin had a heart attack. He was 57 years old, survived, spent 2 weeks in the hospital. The doctors told him to reduce stress, to take it easy, to retire. Kevin ignored them, went back to work, kept going, because stopping meant thinking, and thinking meant remembering, and remembering meant falling apart. He worked for another 8 years, until his body gave out. Second heart attack. This one killed him. He was 65 years old. His wife found a letter in his desk after he died. It was addressed to his brother Michael, the one who died in World War II. The letter was dated 1943. Kevin had written it the day after he found out Michael was dead. He never sent it, just kept it. For 56 years. The letter said, "I am sorry I could not save you. I am sorry I was not there. I am sorry I am still here and you are not." His wife read the letter and realized Kevin had spent his entire life trying to make up for surviving, trying to justify why he got to live when his brother did not. And he never forgave himself, never let it go, never moved on. The war did not just kill the people who died in it. It killed parts of the people who survived. Marcus, the boy who saved his neighbor with CPR, became a teacher. He spent 40 years in the same neighborhood where Mrs. Eleanor Hayes taught him. He told his students about the war, about the fear, about the survival, about the small acts that kept people human. He was honest, brutally honest. He did not sugarcoat it, did not make it heroic, just told the truth. And his students loved him for it, because he did not treat them like kids. He treated them like people, like humans who deserved to know the reality of the world. But Marcus never had children of his own, never married. He said he did not want to, but his friends knew the truth. Marcus was terrified of losing people, terrified of caring too much, because the war taught him that everyone you love eventually dies. Everyone you care about gets taken away, so he kept people at arm's length, kept them close enough to help, but far enough that losing them would not destroy him. He spent his entire life teaching kids, loving them, caring about them, and then letting them go, because that was the deal. That was the only way he could survive. Marcus retired in 1995. He was 63 years old. His students threw him a party, gave him cards, gifts, told him how much he meant to them. Marcus smiled, thanked them, and then he went home, alone, to an empty house, with no family, no wife, no kids, just him, and the ghosts of everyone he ever lost. He lived for another 12 years, died in 2007, alone, in his sleep. His neighbors found him 3 days later. At his funeral, over 200 former students showed up. They told stories about how he changed their lives, how he inspired them, how he taught them to keep going no matter what. And every single one of them cried because they loved him, and he never knew, never let himself believe it, because the war taught him that love was dangerous, that caring meant losing, and he spent his entire life protecting himself from that pain. The children of World War II grew up. They had families, careers, lives, but they never forgot. They carried the war with them, in their bodies, in their minds, in the way they raised their kids, in the way they flinched at loud noises, in the way they hoarded food, in the way they could not throw anything away, in the way they never felt safe, never felt at peace, never felt like the war was truly over. And their children noticed, the baby boomers, born after the war. They grew up in houses where no one talked about the past, where parents had nightmares and would not explain why, where certain topics were forbidden, where the TV was turned off if war footage came on. They grew up in the shadow of something they did not understand, something their parents refused to explain, and it shaped them, made them question authority, question war, question everything, because they saw what it did to their parents, saw the damage, saw the scars, and they swore they would never let it happen again. But it did happen again. Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan. The wars kept coming, and each time a new generation of children learned the same lessons. That war does not end when the fighting stops. That trauma does not disappear when the bombs stop falling. That the cost of war is not measured in casualties. It is measured in lifetimes, in generations, in the ghosts that haunt families for decades after the last shot is fired. The children of World War II are almost gone now. Most of them are dead. The ones who are left are in their 80s and 90s, fragile, fading, and most of them still do not talk about it, still carry the weight, still flinch when they hear planes, still wake up in the middle of the night gasping for air, still see the faces of people they lost, still hear the sirens, still feel the fear. But some of them talk now, finally, after 70 years. They sit down with grandchildren, with historians, with anyone who will listen, and they tell the truth about what it was like, about what it cost, about what they lost, and every single one of them says the same thing. War does not make heroes, it makes survivors. And surviving is not the same as winning. Surviving is just living long enough to carry the weight, to pass it on, to make sure the next generation understands. So maybe, just maybe, they will find a way to stop it, to break the cycle, to end the wars before they create more broken children who spend their lives pretending to be whole. The war ended in 1945, but for the children who lived through it, the war never ended. It just became part of who they were, and they carried it every single day for the rest of their lives. Dorothy, Robert, Marcus, Kevin. 4 children who survived Pearl Harbor but never escaped it. If this story made you think of someone who carries a war they won't talk about, leave a comment. Tell their story. Subscribe for the voices history forgets. And before you scroll, go ask someone, what haven't you told me? Sometimes listening is everything.